Good morning, buenos dias, and welcome to the fourth of our recipes from Spain. Now, so far this month we've focused very much on different tapas. I think we've done about 6 different types of tapas, and we've also done some sangria. But today we're going to do a main dish, and the main dish is essentially Iberian pork. Now, many of you who've been to Spain, or a bar or restaurant in Spain, or indeed a Spanish restaurant in another country, you'll often see that great big leg of ham that they carve with a huge knife. Wafer thin pieces of Iberian dried ham, and it's absolutely beautiful, melts in the mouth. But the animals, the pigs they come from Iberia, can also be used for pork, not only the dried ham but more standard pork. So today we're going to do roast Iberian pork, and the central item obviously is the pork. This isn't the absolute most expensive Iberian pork because that really costs an incredible amount, but it's up standard a bit, and if you can see, it's sort of a bit darker, a bit more red than the pork you would normally buy in the shops. And the really expensive is almost red. It looks more like beef because it's been so matured and looked after and treated well. So but this is going to be the pork we're going to use for today. There's no set recipe for Iberian pork. It's usually roasted ultimately in the oven in some kind of marinade. So we're going to do that today. We're going to do a marinade, which will consist of some olive oil, some thyme, some paprika, some garlic, and then I've got some black peppercorns. You can use 1 little dried chili and some cumin seeds, and maybe a splash of sherry or fortified wine, and that's going to go into a marinade, which I'll show you in a little while. And then we're going to serve it with a sherry or a fortified wine sauce, which basically is the fortified wine, chicken stock, onion, and a little bit of flour to thicken the sauce. But the marinade itself is not difficult to make, but you should really then marinate it overnight, 24 hours if you can. So today we're starting the dish. We'll finish the video and finish the dish tomorrow when it actually gets eaten. But for now, let's get cracking with the marinade. First, to check on the equipment. So our equipment for today is a chopping board, a knife, a grinder, unless you use powdered spices, a jug, a bowl, a wooden spoon, a saucepan, a frying pan, and a baking tray. Okay, so what I've got here is my cumin seeds, some black peppercorns, and just 1 dried chili. If you like it spicy, you could add a second, but I'm going to put them all in my grinder now. Now you could, if you haven't got a grinder or you can't be bothered, you could use chili powder, normal pepper, black pepper, and cumin powder. But in a way, I think it's quite nice to have a not completely powdery version. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, a little bit more. Perfect. Not to waste any. So pour those spices into our bowl. We add our chopped garlic, 1 clove of garlic, and then we're going to add a teaspoon of sweet smoked paprika. Be generous with that. And then some thyme, about a teaspoon of thyme. Now you can see we have our dry ingredients. So we're going to add some olive oil. And I decided in the end I was going to use some sherry vinegar rather than, I don't want to use the sweet sherry because I don't want the marinade to be sweet. The sauce will be quite sweet. So I want a contrast between the savoury of the pork and the sweetness of the sauce. So I'm going to use that, but you could use normal dry sherry and that's absolutely fine. Mix that all up together. And then we just get our piece of fork like this, put it into the marinade, rub it in, make sure it's all well coated. You'll see it in a minute when I take it out of the bowl. There we go, to waste any. So that is our marinated pork fillet. So that's now going to go into the fridge, probably the plastic bag, overnight. So it's now, as I record this Saturday morning, this is going to be Sunday lunch. So it's going to have 24 hours in the fridge before we cook it. So join me tomorrow in the kitchen and we'll finish our dish. See you then. So while we wait till tomorrow, here are the ingredients. A 400 gram piece of pork fillet, 2 garlic cloves finely chopped, a teaspoon of cumin seeds, a teaspoon of black peppercorns, and 1 dried chili, which are then ground up, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of thyme, a teaspoon of dry sherry or sherry vinegar, olive oil for both parts of the dish today, half an onion finely chopped, 100 millilitres of muscatel or sweet sherry, 200 millilitres of chicken stock made from a chicken stock pot, a teaspoon or 2 of flour, salt and pepper. Okay, so welcome to tomorrow. So I've now got my piece of pork that I marinated yesterday morning and then put in the fridge overnight. I've just put it straight into a frying pan, doesn't need anything else added to it, and I'm going to cook that, fry that for about 10 minutes or so, just so everything seals in nicely. So while that's cooking, I'll do a quick swap around and change my temperatures. And what I've got in this pan is my onions from yesterday that I've chopped up and I've fried in a bit of olive oil. And to that, I'm going to add a little bit of my flour, which is going to be the thickening agent for the sauce. A couple of teaspoons. And just stir that around so that the flour and the oil mix nicely to form a roux. And then I've got my chicken stock, which I made up from a stock cube. And to that I'm going to add my sweet sherry or my sweet fortified wine. And then add a bit first. Stir it around for a couple of minutes or so until the flour does its job of thickening the mixture. Okay, so we'll just turn over our pork while that's cooking. Let that carry on. And then once the pork's cooked, or it's not completely cooked, but it's browned off for about 15 minutes or so, we're going to transfer it to the oven and bake it for about another 20 minutes in the oven. It doesn't need very long. Pork fillet cooks very quickly. Now, you can put it straight onto a baking tray, with or without a grill. It really doesn't matter. But what I've got here, because we're having this for dinner tonight, I've made some just new potatoes, a bit of sun-dried tomato and some onion, So once the pork is done, I'm just going to put that on top like that, put that back in the oven, and as I say, let that cook for about another 20 minutes. So 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, it should be perfect. Very good, that's it. Iberian pork.